Sycamore Street had always been a quiet place. Nestled in a sleepy suburb of Coldwater, Indiana, it was lined with old maple trees, retired teachers, and the occasional neighborhood barbecue. It wasn't the sort of place where things happened. That's what made the disappearance of 16-year-old Maya Hartwell so jarring. She vanished on the last Friday of October, 2018. Her parents had gone out to dinner downtown, and Maya, straight-A student, debate team captain, and recent homecoming court nominee, was home alone. Her father, Howard Hartwell, reported she was supposed to be watching a documentary for AP Government. When he called to check in, no one answered. He tried again 15 minutes later. Still nothing. By the time they returned home at 10:47 p.m., Maya's phone was on the kitchen counter. Her laptop was still open on the couch. A bag of popcorn was half full on the coffee table, and her sneakers were by the front door. But Maya was gone. There was no sign of forced entry. Nothing was stolen. No signs of a struggle. The front door had been locked. The windows, too. And yet, she was gone. The investigation began immediately. Coldwater PD, unused to anything more serious than an underage drinking ticket, quickly realized they were in over their heads. The state police were called in within 48 hours. So was the FBI. They canvassed the neighborhood. Talked to anyone with a porch camera or a Ring doorbell. Only one thing stood out. At 9:36 p.m., a camera across the street captured the faint image of a tall figure standing under the streetlight near the Hartwell house. They didn't move. They just stood, still, watching. The footage lasted 11 seconds. Then the figure stepped out of view. The quality was grainy. No features. Just a silhouette. When questioned, no one on the block recognized the shape. A few neighbors mentioned that in recent weeks, they'd spotted a white van parked on the next block over. Always after 9 p.m. Sometimes with the engine running. But no one had thought much of it, until now. The van was gone by the time police searched the area. Investigators dug into Maya's life. No enemies. No secret boyfriends. No drugs. Her phone had no suspicious messages. Her texts were normal. Her laptop, spotless. But something odd came up on her internet history. At 8:14 p.m. on the night she disappeared, Maya had Googled the phrase, "Why does someone watch your house every night?" It wasn't a joke. That same phrase had been entered on 3 different nights in the week before. Always late. Always followed by frantic clicks, Reddit threads about stalkers, true crime forums, security camera advice. She hadn't told her parents. Not even her best friend, Brianna, knew. It was like she was afraid to say it out loud. For houses down from the Hartwells was an old Victorian. 108 Sycamore Street. Everyone called it the Merton House, even though no one named Merton had lived there since the 70s. It had been vacant for years. At least, that's what people thought. But in the course of their canvassing, one officer, Detective Leah Rourke, noticed something strange. A flicker of light behind a curtain. A faint hum, maybe a generator. And when she stepped closer to the side of the house, she found footprints. Fresh ones. Leading to a basement door. The door was locked. With a warrant, police entered the following day. What they found made headlines across the country. The basement of 108 Sycamore was more than a basement. It had been renovated, crudely but effectively, into a self-contained apartment. There was a mattress on the floor, canned food stacked along the walls, and dozens of old CRT TVs stacked and wired together. Surveillance monitors. Every single TV showed a different view of Sycamore Street. Cameras had been hidden in mailboxes, storm drains, even carved into the bark of trees. Someone had been watching the entire block. And one monitor. zoomed directly at the Hartwells' living room. A chair was positioned facing it. Next to it, a journal. Spiral-bound. Yellow. It detailed, in chilling handwriting, target observation logs. Maya was mentioned in nearly 50 entries. Fingerprints lifted from the scene matched those of Daniel LeMay, a man who had previously lived in a halfway house 30 miles away after serving time for burglary and stalking. He had disappeared from parole supervision 6 months prior. Daniel was a ghost. No known relatives. No bank accounts. No phone. A bolo, be on the lookout, was issued nationwide. Meanwhile, the Hartwells were relocated. The media descended. True crime podcasts pounced. Coldwater became a hotbed of fear, obsession, and rumor. But Maya still hadn't been found. 3 weeks after the discovery of the surveillance den, authorities received a flash drive in the mail. It was unmarked. Inside were 7 video files. Night vision. Black and white. No audio. Each showed someone, presumably Daniel, entering a house on Sycamore Street at night. Just slipping in, like a ghost. Sometimes standing at the foot of a sleeping couple's bed. Sometimes in the kitchen. Once, crouching behind a couch. But the 7th video. It was from October 26th. It showed Maya sitting on her couch, watching TV. She turned her head. Her expression changed, confusion, then fear. She got up, walked toward the hallway, and vanished from view. At the 2 minutes and 19 seconds mark, the camera zoomed in through the window. A shadow passed behind her. Desperate for answers, police returned to 108 Sycamore with ground-penetrating radar. What they found was a narrow tunnel behind the basement wall. It stretched 40 feet underground. At the end, a trapdoor. An old storm drain converted into a hidden passage. The tunnel connected directly beneath the street, ending at a drainage grate behind the Hartwells' backyard. He'd been using it for weeks. Maybe months. Inside the tunnel were more signs, torn fabric, wrappers, a flashlight. But Maya wasn't there. 10 months passed. Then, late one night, a call came into the Coldwater PD tip line. A girl's voice. Weak. Crackling. My name is Maya Hartwell. I'm in a house. I don't know where. He leaves during the day. Please help me. The line cut out. The number? A burner phone, last pinged from a rural area in southern Illinois, over 300 miles away. A massive search began. Door to door. But the trail went cold. Until a week later, when a UPS driver noticed something strange. A white van, abandoned, near the tree line by an old farm. Inside, they found maps. Gas receipts. Tools. Ropes. Empty water bottles. And in the glove box? A Polaroid. Maya. Alive. Eyes red. Hair matted. Holding up a paper with that day's date. 2 days later, after a sweep of the nearby forest, officers found a small, boarded-up barn. Inside was Maya. She had been chained to a wall. Malnourished, dehydrated, but alive. She was found just in time. Daniel LeMay was nowhere to be seen. Maya spent the next 2 months in a hospital recovery ward. Her story broke the nation's heart. She remembered little about the 10 months she was missing, just flashes. Darkness. The sound of a generator. Static from a TV. Being watched. Always watched. She hadn't seen Daniel's face clearly. He always wore a mask. Moved silently. Spoke only in short commands. Eat. Sleep. Don't scream. But she remembered his voice from one place. The tapes in her debate club. He used to volunteer at the school. No one had connected the dots. Daniel LeMay has never been found. There have been alleged sightings, Montana, Texas, even as far as Guatemala. Nothing confirmed. The FBI believes he may have died in the woods near Coldwater, his body never recovered. Others aren't so sure. Maya has since moved, changed her name, and written a memoir called The House That Watched Me. But in the final chapter, she recounts a recent event. 2 years after her rescue, she received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photo. A street. Sycamore Street. And a figure standing beneath a streetlight. Watching.
On the morning of August 17, 2014, at precisely 6:42 a.m., the body of 17-year-old Elliot Granger was found hanging from a wooden support beam inside the abandoned Ridgewood Apple Orchard in Ashfield, Oregon. A jogger cutting through the overgrown trail had spotted his shoes first, old Converse sneakers swaying slightly just above the moss-covered ground. At first, she thought it was a prank. A scarecrow. Maybe a dummy strung up by kids. But as she got closer, the truth set in. Elliot had been missing for 6 days. He had vanished on a Tuesday afternoon after leaving his summer job at Harper's Hardware. He never made it home. Ashfield wasn't the kind of town where kids went missing. It had one high school, one diner, and a single blinking traffic light. It was the kind of place where families stayed for generations. Where the same mailman worked the same route for 30 years. Where gossip was currency. So when Elliot's death was initially ruled a suicide, the town was shaken. But something didn't sit right with people. Especially not Elliot's mother, Jean Granger. She was adamant, Elliot didn't kill himself. And then came the details the sheriff's office never expected to leak. There were no fingerprints on the beam where the rope was tied. The shoes had no dirt on the soles, despite the forest trail being muddy from the prior night's rain. Elliot's phone and backpack were never recovered. And strangest of all, the rope was military grade, the kind used for tactical rappelling. Not something a teenager from rural Oregon would randomly have. But officially, it stayed a suicide. Case closed. Until the next body. 8 months later, April 2015, Lana Reyes, a junior from the same high school, was found dead just outside the Ridgewood property line. She'd been missing for 4 days. Her body was discovered inside a hollowed-out tree trunk, wrapped in an old sleeping bag. Her cause of death was ruled undetermined, but scratches on her neck, defensive wounds on her arms, and fibers found under her fingernails told a different story. Again, the town shook. And again, nothing stuck. The police refused to link the cases. But Lana's older brother, Chris Reyes, did his own digging. When he searched Lana's room, he found a notebook with several names circled in red ink. One of them, Elliot Granger. Beneath his name, she'd written just one word. Basement. No one had been inside the Granger house basement since Elliot died. Jean had locked it. Said it brought her too much pain. But after Lana's body was found, and with Jean's hesitant blessing, Chris Reyes and a few of Elliot's old friends, Mira, Jason, and Caleb, returned to the basement with flashlights and a camera. It looked normal at first. Dusty shelves. Storage bins. Old Halloween decorations. Until Caleb found a loose floorboard. Beneath it was a small metal lockbox. Inside, a notebook, a flash drive, and a single photo. The photo showed 5 teens sitting around a bonfire. 4 were familiar, Elliot, Lana, Mira, and Jason. The 5th was a girl no one could immediately name. On the back of the photo, scribbled in all caps, "We shouldn't have gone back." The flash drive held a series of short video clips. Grainy. Shot at night. Flashlights bobbing. Nervous voices whispering. In one video, the teens are inside the Ridgewood orchard. They're exploring one of the abandoned barns. Someone is filming while Mira leads the way. At 2:17 in the video, a loud bang echoes off camera. Screaming. The footage shakes violently, then goes black. A second video shows the group huddled in a circle back at the Granger basement. Elliot is pacing. His voice is clear. We saw something in that barn. That thing wasn't an animal. I'm telling you, it was watching us. We don't go back there. Ever. Then a girl's voice, Lana's, mutters. Too late. I think it followed us. The mystery girl in the photo was eventually identified as Sierra Blake. She had attended Ashfield High briefly in 2013 but had transferred out suddenly in the spring. No explanation. No records of where she went. Her family had moved out of state with no forwarding address. When Chris tracked down her old social media, the last post was from the night the group visited Ridgewood. The caption: "Going somewhere we shouldn't. Let's hope we make it back." She never posted again. Attempts to locate her failed. But another piece of the puzzle emerged when Mira, now clearly rattled, confessed to Chris and Jean. They had been daring each other to go into Ridgewood for weeks. Elliot had dared Sierra to go into the cellar under one of the barns, a hidden door rumored to lead to an old speakeasy from Prohibition. Sierra had gone in alone. When she didn't come out right away, the others panicked. They found her crying in a corner, insisting she'd heard breathing behind the walls. That was the night the group made a pact: never tell anyone. They all agreed. But Elliot had started writing things down. Because he believed that whatever they saw, or disturbed, that night hadn't stayed in the barn. In September 2015, 5 months after Lana's death, Jason went missing. He'd been camping with friends 2 hours south. Left the tent at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. Never returned. His body was never found. But 3 weeks later, his younger sister received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a single Polaroid. It showed Jason, staring directly into the camera, in what looked like the Ridgewood barn. Tied to the photo with a string, one of his shoelaces. The handwriting on the back. One left. Mira was the last of the original group still in town. She had dropped out of school, isolated herself, barely spoke. One night, she showed up at Jean Granger's house, sobbing, incoherent. She said she had to go back. Said it wouldn't stop otherwise. Jean begged her not to. But Mira left that night anyway, taking her father's truck. A day later, she was found alive, but barely. She was discovered in the exact same barn as the first video, unconscious, with deep lacerations on her arms and Ridgewood carved into her stomach. She survived. And when questioned, she said only one thing. There's a tunnel under the barn. It's where he takes them. The barn at Ridgewood was excavated, and just as Mira said, there was a trapdoor beneath a pile of rotting hay. It led to a narrow tunnel, reinforced with wood beams. It twisted downward for over 60 feet into a hidden underground chamber. Inside, bedding, rope, food wrappers, journals. And in one of the journals, an entry dated March 4, 2014, a confession. Sierra screamed too loudly. I had to make her stop. I didn't mean to. But they were all going to tell. Elliot started writing. Lana was too curious. Jason thought it was a joke. Now they're gone. And soon, Mira will join them. It's the only way to keep the orchard safe. The writing stopped there. No signature. But DNA found in the chamber led to a match. Caleb Henley. The quietest of the original group. The one who'd insisted on recording. The one who was with them the night Sierra vanished. He had been hiding in plain sight, helping with the investigation, comforting Jean, pretending to mourn. He was arrested on October 1st, 2015, trying to flee across state lines. In his backpack, Sierra's phone, Lana's bracelet, Jason's wallet. He confessed in full detail. Claimed he had been possessed by something that lived in the orchard. Something ancient. Something he called the Echo. Psychiatrists called it a psychotic break. But those who knew the orchard best, they said it had always been cursed. The Ridgewood orchard was bulldozed in 2018. Developers tried to turn it into luxury housing. Construction crews reported strange delays, equipment failures, and at least 3 workers injured in freak accidents. Eventually, the project was abandoned. Mira moved away and changed her name. Chris Reyes became a journalist. Jean Granger still lives in Ashfield. She keeps Elliot's room the same. Every year on August 17th, she leaves a candle at the edge of where the orchard once stood. It never stays lit for more than a few minutes. And on one particularly foggy evening in 2022, a hiker reported seeing a flickering light deep in the woods. When he approached, he found nothing. Just a photo nailed to a tree. 5 teens, smiling around a bonfire. And scribbled on the back, "We're still here."
Ava Delaney vanished on a bright spring morning. April 12, 2016. Briar Glen, Connecticut, population 4,213. A place of white picket fences, pristine gardens, and Sunday farmers markets, where secrets weren't supposed to exist. At 8:06 a.m., 17-year-old Ava left home for school wearing a denim jacket, black leggings, and white sneakers. She never made it to class. By noon, her phone was off. By 4 p.m., her parents called the police. She wasn't the kind of girl who ran away. She had perfect grades, an early acceptance letter to NYU, no boyfriend, no history of depression. Her Instagram was cheerful, polished. She posted motivational quotes and pastel filter photos of her cat. There were no signs of forced entry at the house. No ransom note. No security footage from the neighborhood. It was as if she had simply ceased to exist. To outsiders, the Delaneys were the model family. Her father, Marcus, was a respected local attorney. Her mother, Claire, owned a boutique that had been featured in a New England lifestyle magazine. Ava was their only child, quiet, polite, exceptionally mature, according to teachers. But when the investigation began, cracks surfaced quickly. Claire admitted they'd had a fight the night before. Something about college, or Ava's refusal to attend a local university. Claire claimed it was normal mother-daughter tension. But when detectives reviewed Ava's bedroom, they found something troubling. A journal entry dated April 10th, reading, "She thinks I'm perfect. She doesn't see the real me. I wish someone knew what I'm carrying." And under her mattress, a burner phone. It had no contact list. Just one number labeled D. No messages. Only one outgoing call, 8 minutes, the night before she vanished. Investigators traced the burner number to a Daniel Everett, 27 years old, part-time handyman. He lived in a trailer just outside town. No criminal record. Quiet, soft-spoken. He admitted knowing Ava, but only because he worked maintenance at the local library where she volunteered. He claimed she once asked him to help fix a bicycle tire. When pressed, he denied anything inappropriate. But Ava's friend, Leah, came forward days later and admitted Ava had once mentioned an older guy she was talking to. She didn't say his name, only that he understood her and knew what it felt like to be fake around everyone. That was enough for police to bring Daniel in. He never cracked under interrogation. No evidence was found in his home, his vehicle, or on his devices. He passed the polygraph. Twice. And yet, something felt wrong. 2 weeks into the investigation, a photo surfaced. It was posted anonymously on Reddit, on a true crime thread discussing Ava's case. The photo showed Ava sitting in what looked like an old warehouse. Her hands were in her lap. Her face was blank. And taped to her chest was a handwritten sign. "I'm not who you think I am." It was time-stamped, April 13th, 2:04 a.m. The post was quickly deleted, but not before it was screen-captured and traced to a VPN in Ontario, Canada. A massive effort began to comb warehouses across state lines. Nothing came up. Until someone recognized the window in the background. A cracked glass pane with a yellow X painted on it. It matched an abandoned train depot 40 miles north of Briar Glen, in the town of Wilmar. When police arrived, they found nothing. No Ava. No rope. No chair. Just ashes in the corner of the room. And a single piece of duct tape stuck to the wall. More came to light. From encrypted chats recovered on the burner phone's SD card, investigators learned Ava had been leading a second life online. Using the alias Venus in Ruin, she frequented obscure philosophy forums and a private Discord server centered on urban vanishing, a niche group obsessed with planning fake disappearances and starting new lives off the grid. On the Discord, Ava had written, "To erase yourself is the ultimate freedom. To vanish without leaving trauma. To become a myth." Others on the server egged her on. One user in particular, Oblivion_Sync, seemed to be guiding her. They discussed locations, bus routes, the best way to dispose of a phone, how to leave traces just enough to start a legend. This wasn't a kidnapping. It was a blueprint. But Ava had never withdrawn money, never bought a ticket. Her passport remained at home. So where was she? 6 weeks after the photo surfaced, a VHS tape arrived at the local news station. No note. No fingerprints. It was labeled in black sharpie. Ava, the end? The footage, grainy and in black and white, showed Ava again, sitting in the same chair as before. Only this time, she was crying. In the background, a voice spoke. "Say it. For the record." Ava hesitated, then said, "This is what I wanted. But now I'm not sure." The video cut off at 2:09. An analyst noted something eerie in the background. A wall with tally marks, exactly 15. There had been 15 girls reported missing from surrounding counties in the past 4 years. All under 25. All unexplained. No one had connected them, until now. Another lead came from an anonymous tip. A woman claimed to have seen Ava 3 days after her disappearance, walking near a red farmhouse off Route 19. She said the girl looked dazed, barefoot, and afraid of being seen. That area had been searched early on, but the tip redirected attention. When police returned, they discovered a cellar door hidden behind brush. Inside, they found a mattress, a makeshift toilet, fingerprints confirmed to be Ava's, and scratched into the wall. "He's not who he said he was." The house belonged to an elderly couple who had died the year prior. It had been vacant since. Except, a neighbor swore he'd seen a man in a green coat visiting the house at night, parking behind the barn. The coat matched one worn by Daniel Everett in a 2014 photo. Before he'd ever met Ava, FBI surveillance was placed around Daniel Everett's trailer. For weeks, he did nothing. Just went to work, came home, barely left. Until May 22nd. A man was spotted entering Daniel's trailer, someone unknown. Tall, with a limp. Security footage caught him carrying a black duffel bag. He stayed inside for 4 hours. When he left, a tracking device was planted on his vehicle. He drove directly to the red house. That night, a SWAT team moved in. In the cellar, they found 2 women, one barely conscious, the other screaming. And in the barn's underground pit, Ava Delaney. Alive. Barely. She had been missing for 41 days. The man with the limp was Anthony Cole, 39, a drifter from New Jersey with connections to multiple missing persons cases across state lines. Under interrogation, he confessed to running a voluntary vanishing cult, where young women were lured with the promise of starting new lives, free from pressure, parents, and perfection. But once inside, they weren't allowed to leave. They were cut off, drugged, and told the outside world had abandoned them. Daniel Everett was one of the recruiters. He scouted girls like Ava, vulnerable, gifted, with repressed lives, and nudged them toward the trap. But Ava was different. She had resisted. She had fought. She remembered everything. A year later, Ava appeared on a national television interview. She looked older, tired, but strong. When asked what she wanted people to know, she said, "I didn't disappear. I was taken. Because I thought no one would notice. But someone always does. Even if it's just one person, that's enough to bring you home." Anthony Cole received life in prison. Daniel Everett died by suicide in his cell before trial. The other girls? 7 were found. 5 were never recovered. The Discord server was shut down. But some believe it still exists, deeper, darker, with new names, new members, still whispering the same idea. To vanish is to be free.